Hey there, everybody. Scudder here today, and it is January 31st, 2011. Now, the subject of this video today may make me just a tad bit unpopular with a few people, and if it does, that's okay. That's not a problem for me. You can't please all the people all the time. But it was something that kind of struck me, and I wanted to talk about it today, and you guys are certainly welcome to leave your feedback in the comment section below or with the video response. Now, what prompted this video for me today was based on a video that John on the Kittenkatten YouTube channel made, and it was equating preppers with prophets from the Old Testament. And now, I don't have a problem with John as an individual. John does the East Coast updates, and he does a lot of economic and stuff, like reports and stuff, and he does some great stuff on his channel. John and I have agreed greatly in the past, because John he considers himself a rabbi, and he does not, at least he didn't as of last year, believe that Jesus was the Messiah. And he's more of a, I don't want to say Orthodox Jew, because I don't think he's Orthodox. He considers himself something else, and I can't remember what it is right off the top of my head. But he thinks along kind of those lines. And that's okay. That's his choice, and that's his right. And I don't have a problem with Jewish people. Let me please state that now, because that's the first thing somebody's going to say. I have no problem with Jewish people. In fact, one of the individuals that I study the Bible under is a rabbi. So there you go. But, and this video isn't really to bash John per se, so please don't get that wrong. John had kind of a rough year last year with some health issues, and so he's had it kind of rough, and so this isn't to bash John, but this is to share my thoughts on that topic. Now, in the video, part of his video was great. He did a comparison of the Old Testament laws and the United States Constitution, and the comparison that he did was talking about the Old Testament laws, and when we follow those laws, then God prospers us and blesses us. And when we don't follow the laws that God has set forth, then there's a little bit of a breakdown. We start having some problems. And he, referenced that to the Constitution of the United States. And when individuals in this country, when we as a country and a government follow our Constitution as it's written, then things, kind of run smooth, work good, people prosper, things are great. When we start ignoring the Constitution and doing things differently, then that's when we start seeing quite a bit of a breakdown, and that's what we have seen in our country. So that part of the video was great, and I agreed with that. The problem that I had was that John, in the video, and which was part of the crux of the video, was that he was comparing the Old Testament prophets in the Bible and people like Ron Paul and Peter Schiff, and he was saying that those individuals, and he was lumping them into the category of preppers, and he was saying that they were basically like our 21st century prophets. And I was kind of taken back by that, especially coming from someone who considers himself a rabbi. I don't know, to me I would think other rabbis would look at that and would be like, oh, no, oi, oi, oi. That would be a bad thing, I would think. And I think the impression that I got from it was that it was a little bit irresponsible for John to even place people like Ron Paul and Peter Schiff in the same category as the Old Testament prophets, because definitely you're talking about two different leagues of people. The Old Testament prophets were individuals who talked to and heard from God directly. He spoke directly to them, and he had specific messages for those individuals to give his people, both on a positive and on a negative side. And people like Ron Paul and Peter Schiff, whereas I think that individuals like that definitely have gotten where they are today, not by being stupid, but by being intelligent. They are individuals who are looking at things like data and trends and things like that, and they're making man-made predictions based on those things. And so you can see that the two do not compare. It's basically apples and oranges when you look at it. And so to compare people like that to Old Testament prophets, I think probably is a very irresponsible way of putting it. Now, where the concept of prepping comes in, for those of you who are watching this who may not be familiar with the term prepper, we're not talking about preppy people. Preppers are basically individuals who have learned and are learning the art of survival. And that is what we mean when we talk about preppers. And there are a lot of individuals out there these days who are bright, intelligent individuals, and they're sharing their knowledge with other people along the way. And I think that that's great. I think that it's wonderful that we have preppers out there, and we have the opportunity now for things such as these video channels where people can share their intelligence, their skills, and things like that with hundreds of thousands of individuals. But the concept of prepping is not a new concept in and of itself. And I think that sometimes people make the mistake of elevating preppers to a little bit higher level. And I'm not sure that that's really the right way we should go. If you think about it, the art of prepping has been happening for thousands of years. You just may not think of it in that way, because for us in this day and time, prepping sort of has become a new concept, but it is actually something that has gone on for thousands of years. And if you don't agree with that, well, just hear me out. You have to look at it throughout time. People didn't have the modern conveniences that we have today. They didn't have all this electronic stuff. They didn't have the transportation like we have these days. They did not have, everything right at their fingertips, and at a moment's notice they could get it, boom, just like that. In days past, people had to actually do their own work. They had to plant their own gardens. They had to hunt their own food. They had to make their own tools and furniture and things like that. They had to build their own houses. It was up to them. If they did not do it, then they would not survive. You can go back even to my grandparents' time, and that's how my grandparents survived. They raised their own crops every year. They raised their own livestock. My grandfather built this house himself that I'm living in. When him and my grandmother had kids, that was one of the reasons they had kids, was so that there would be more individuals in the family that could work the crops, that could hunt the food, that could build the things, that could sell the things that they needed to make money off of. The idea of being a prepper is something that has gone on for centuries. It's new to a lot of us in our day and time, because for a long time I think that was it was a dying skill. I can speak for myself. I didn't learn to even plant a garden till about 5 years ago, and my dad grew up doing that every year of his life. That's how he was raised. He was raised to be a survivor, but because he moved off to the big city and he married my mom, And, they got caught up in all this modern technology when they were young and married. They got away from that. And so, therefore, that's something that they did not pass down to us kids. And I had to learn, myself as an adult, how to do some of this stuff. And that's why I think that, these days a lot of people consider prepping, to be this new, wonderful idea, and oh wow, we need to jump on board. Well, yeah, you need to jump on board, because if you don't, you're not going to survive. And if you're not teaching your children how to do this, they're not going to survive. But this is something that should be being passed down from generation to generation, and has been for many, many, many hundreds of and thousands of years. So this is not a new concept. And, that's just kind of the point that I wanted to make. I think that we kind of elevate some of these people sometimes, and really they're doing what they should have been doing all along. Even if you read in the Bible, the Bible teaches us that, we are to, put up our stores, and we are to prepare for hard times. And, we have stories in the Bible, look at Egypt and the famine and all of that. Those were warnings to us, and they were told to us for a reason, so that we would not face the same problems that those individuals did, and that we would learn from their mistakes. So that's just kind of what I wanted to share today. I know I have a tendency to ramble. I'm sorry about that, but it just kind of bothered me that we would be elevating, just regular human beings to prophet status, when really that's probably not a fair way of doing it, and probably not a smart way. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't modern day prophets of God, because I think that God does speak to individuals. So don't misinterpret what I'm saying. But I think that, to call preppers, and to call people, like Ron Paul or Peter Schiff, or, any number of other individuals, a prophet probably isn't a very wise thing, because it's they're two different worlds, two different levels of individuals. So anyway, you guys share your thoughts with me on this, and put your comments in the comment section below, and you can make a video response if you want to, and tell me what you think. Do you think that preppers are prophets, or do you think that they're just doing the things that their ancestors did, and they're just basically reviving that way of living?